they're not going to bring you anybody that is shit, okay? And there is so much shit country. I'm not saying what I am or what I'm not, but I'm just saying, I want you to pay attention. If Rogue picks them to come here, then come and check them out. Even if you've never heard of them, just because you hadn't heard of them doesn't mean they're very successful, and it doesn't mean that they're not badass, all right? So please, follow Rogue, get on the internet, get on the Instagram and all the Facebook, and pay attention to who they have coming over here, because this is just a couple of guys who believe in it. And they're booking my hotels, they're getting us from place to place, setting up the PAs, and doing all of it for the love of country music so that you can have a chance to come out here on a Saturday night. And that
is everything. What's going on, you rogues, renegades, and rebels? Welcome to episode 78 of the Rogue Country Podcast. I am Mike West. This isn't even episode 78, guys. This is episode 79. Holy shit. We've done more than I thought we had. Welcome to episode 79 of the Rogue Country Podcast. How are you guys doing? What have you been up to? I got an awesome opportunity to interview Ken from Ferocious Dog. I'm stoked about this. I got to see them in Bloodstock in 2022. I've seen them opening for Flog and Molly. I'm going to be seeing them this year on their farewell tour. Are you guys going? You better be. These guys play incredible folk punk music with heart, with passion, with grit, with a message. And it's sad to see them going, but it was amazing to try and finally get to chat to Ken. I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. We've tried to set it up a couple of times. And today I got a message saying I'm free right now. So we fucking dropped into it. Make sure you catch Ferocious Dog. They are doing 2 parts to their farewell tour, including festivals. Part 1 begins on the 5th of March, which is already past. This episode's going up on the 9th of March. So let's go from the 9th. Where are you going to see these guys? You're going to see them on the 12th in Exeter, 13th in Bournemouth, 14th in London, 15th in Gloucester, 19th in Cambridge, 20th in Sheffield, 21st in Northampton, 22nd in Shrewsbury, 26th in Grimsby, 27th in Rossendale, 28th in Birmingham, and 29th in Bath. That is a busy March. They are back again for part 2. I will find those dates as well because I know I am seeing them in September. Where are the September dates? I have no idea where the September dates are, but I know it's been announced that they are playing the Holy Diver in Stockport in September, which I can't wait for. It's going to be rad. I'm definitely going to be going to that one. And what are you guys doing? Who else are you seeing? Are you coming to see Ags Connolly on the 18th of March with Susanna Clegg opening in Birkenhead that Rogue Country is putting on? I hope you are. But I hope no matter who you're seeing this year, you're supporting live music. You're going out. Me and Ken get into it about supporting live venues and smaller bands, because that's the only way we're going to keep getting these type of bands coming through, is through your support. And what else is happening? Mike West and the Missing Links, we released a live album in December in Bandcamp, and then it's also on all streaming platforms now. It's called Breaking Strings, live in Preston 2025. We recorded it while we were opening for the Outlaw Vinny Stigma of Agnostic Front. It was amazing. It was such a fun 2 shows. We got to do the Salty Dog in Northwich with him, and then the Ferret in Preston. And we didn't know this, but the Ferret actually recorded our set. We got it, we mixed it, we mastered it, and it's out now and it's available. It's got a lot of new songs on that I'm hyped about, including How to Build a Guillotine. So to get that out in public and people's ears has been awesome. I have a new book or an anthology as part of Cryptid Chaos, where I write about the squonk. All that's in my Bandcamp, but I don't want to take up too much of the spotlight because today is all about Ken and Ferocious Dog. They're calling it a farewell, and it's amazing to see the outpouring of love from their fans. It's well deserved, it's well earned. I wish them nothing but the best on this tour and as they ease into retirement. They're a lovely bunch of guys. Ken was awesome. This is episode 79 of the Rogue Country Podcast with Mike West and Ken from Ferocious Dog.
There we go.
Awesome. Thanks so much for making the time, Ken. How are you doing?
No problem at all, pal. Yeah, busy. So I've just been sorting on me food banks at the moment. So.
Oh, incredible. How's it been going? Because you do that for every show, don't you? It's amazing.
Yeah. So I've just been making sure that they know what times to turn up now that they're all sorted and slotted in. So this goes on months and months and months before. As soon as I know that all the shows that we're going to be playing on the tour, I start talking to all the people that I've known over the years. I mean, there's a new one there, like Gala Shields. We've never had one there, so that's a new one for me. So getting in touch with them, and they're over at Moon that we do things like this. And it's a shame that it's our last year of doing it, or else that's another one that had carried on and would have been good friends, and hopefully got them some much needed donations from the Ferocious Food Groups.
No, so, definitely, that's incredible. Because I was, when you said you were free today to do this, I started listening to you guys again just to get in the mood and get ready for this interview. And I was listening again to like A Place We Call Home, which obviously ties into like the ferocious food drops and homelessness and things. And I worked for a homelessness charity, working in a shelter, and I did a music program as well in a different shelter in Liverpool. And the compassion that those type of people need and like the support they need is just something that's really admirable from what you guys are doing.
I've just had another interview with somebody from the Bournemouth show that we played on a folk radio station down there. And they always ask about ferocious food drops. Oh, tell us about the ferocious food drops. I say, yeah, I hate them. And they don't expect you to say that. I think, really? Like, yeah. The 8th biggest economy in the world and more food banks than McDonald's in this country.
Yeah.
I hate it even more so when you get politicians opening new food banks. I think the irony, we shouldn't have this in this country. You never had it when I was a kid growing up, and we didn't have much. No. In my community, we were brought up, quite poor. We didn't have, we had second-hand clothes and stuff. We were rough and ready, but we had plenty of love and we had food. But nowadays, it's the difference between, it's gone back to Victorian values. I think that's what they're striving for, the haves and the have-nots. Just a shame. But while ever there is people, the amazing volunteers that I do see at food banks and homeless shelters, they are on the increase. The more that I find that there's like 2 types of people in the world. The people who do not give a damn whether people live or die, and then there's people who genuinely are concerned for humankind, and want to help people. And that's, I think, the category that I drop into with Ferocious Dog. So totally. Once you start, like you'll know, for the thing that you've just said, once you start, you can't walk away. No. So I've been doing this since 2016 when I ramped it up more. Because I just used to do it local to start with after 2012. And after I watched Daniel Blake, I realised that I was missing a trick and I could do it at every show. And I used to say that if I only get, say, Gala Shields, if I only get 1 tin of beans, one person brings 1 tin of beans, that's 1 tin of beans or a bag of pasta that food bank wouldn't have had if I wouldn't ask the question. And obviously, I always take a bag. So, that's what I find. It's a collective. If everybody brings 1 tin and we sell by 300 people, that's 300 tins of beans that they will have, or 300 items of toiletry or food or things. So, it's a collective where I just ask the question. If you're coming along, just bring something with you. If you've got it in your kitchen or, on your passing the shop, just, 40p for a tin of carrots or something.
No, so, totally. And like what you were saying, I think from my perspective, and what hopefully is the kind of truth, is there is a bigger majority of the people who do care and the people who do want to see those things. And I always kind of see, and the main trend, especially in charity, is it's the people who have the least give the most. And,
I would say that. They do. I remember once we did a charity fundraising for combat stress after losing my son, and the head of the Lee Bonsall Memorial Fund would collect a lot of money and donate it to helping veterans who struggling from PTSD, and they did it amazing. It was down in London. We got invited onto the top table, and there was a lot of Tory politicians there and a lot of people with money, and they would they've got Sailing the Solent and things to auction off on the day that I could never afford. And, they got a massive amount of money. And all I did is we had an extra £10,000 that we were going to donate on that day. And it was Jeffrey Archer, who was the MC that day, and talking. I thought, well, they're trusting him with money. He's the wrong person, but hey, we had a laugh about that one. And I think I was probably the only socialist there, but from working class. But it's the money that it generates. So they put this on at a big swanky place in London for combat stress, and they raised £40,000, which is an amazing amount of money on that day. But I didn't tell them that I had a cheque for £10,000 from the Lee Bonsall Memorial Fund. So when it were all finished, and they're all patted Jeffrey on the back, and he was going away, and he'd probably been paid for it as well and earned his money. I did say to them, well, I didn't say anything, but I've got a donation here for £10,000, and that makes that £40,000, £50,000. I don't want nothing for it. It's a donation. And they're like, oh. So they shouted him back, and he says, yes, apparently somebody off the top table has just donated an extra £10,000. And that, who was that? And he points to me, and I'm like, yeah, thank you. And he said, oh, thank you very much. That's amazing. And I'm saying, no, it's not my money. I haven't donated it. I said, probably the people who are least well off in community have made that £10,000 and to that from money that they can just spare. And they say, well, I don't get paid this week, but when I get paid next week, I'll donate it. I say, no, you donated last time. So, you keep your money. And I know these people who are struggling to make ends meet, but they want to help. They know the cause and the story and why I do it. But I've always said that the people with the least will give you the most.
Yeah.
And they really do. And that's why I say to down there, it didn't my money. It's the people who follow the band who are always willing to help for the cause. So, yeah, I just had to put that one out that it's not just about being the rich people who can make a difference. A lot of the collective of people who can just probably on the borderline themselves, but will do anything. And they do every time. They're special kind of people.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, this is Ferocious Dog's farewell tour. You said, these food drops and stuff you're going to be missing those as well. So there's going to be like a pang of guilt around that as well, combined with all the other emotions about the farewell tour. Because it starts on Thursday, so in 2 days. How are you guys feeling about it? Are you all ready for the first show in York?
Yeah, well, we can't wait to sold out show as well. Yeah. So that helps when you start sold out shows around the country. So yeah, we can't wait. The rehearsals have been on. It's a unique one because we're just going to put out on social media today. I think that the Hellhound, we put it out social media on our social media platforms for the Hellhounds to pick the set list for this spring tour. So it's not compiled by us. So there's some absolute bangers that are always on the set list that aren't there.
Yeah.
One for instance, like Hellhound. We always play Hellhounds, for the Hellhounds. But they didn't vote for that one. They voted for Hope or Cover Me, songs that don't usually go on the set list, or The Protest Singer, or Dirty Black Leg Miner, songs that we haven't played for years, But I'm quite glad that we've done it this way. So we're saying, they're the seventh member of the band, so you get to choose. Don't leave it up to the band to, say we're going to play this song, and then in the autumn we're going to play, a different set. And say, no, for last time we're chucking it out to you. You choose, and they did. They've chosen, and it's chucked some eye openers up that they'd never usually get into an hour and a half set. So I'm looking forward to this set list. It's going to be very, very different.
Yeah, was there any deep cut that really took you by surprise? I got like a high number of votes, or
yeah, definitely were, and I think on the whole, what you're looking at, they were going for more slower songs than the bangers, which is usually what Ferocious Dog are renowned for. So like the protest singer, probably one of the slowest songs, and the Hope putting them songs in there, and just the softer sides, like I mean, a lot of songs mean a lot to me, like Yellow Feather, uh, which I wrote for Richard Ashford Martin, who's a Hellhound, who is no longer with us. So these songs really mean something to the Hellhounds, and they get it. So it's nice. That song usually wouldn't get on the set list because we'll just do bangers, bangers for the mosh pit. And this time, I think you'll see it softer and slower because it's not us who've picked it.
Yeah.
It's Hellhounds who have picked it. So it's a different way of going on tour rather than saying, "Oh, I like playing this song and Kyle likes playing that song." Like Punk Police isn't on their complete punk song, so the Hellhounds have spoken and they have voted. So I'm looking forward to this different way of doing it, and I think you'll see a softer and more mellow Ferocious Dog on this spring tour. Still some, obviously, it's Ferocious Dog. There's still bangers in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite surprising to see a lot of slower songs being voted for. I think then that leads to the autumn tour, which is a full 2 month banging full tour, which then we can put and say goodbye with the older bangers and see the mosh pits going mad again. So I'm looking forward to the two tours on the last year. So yeah,
that's so cool. Do you think if you'd have opened it up to fan votes before you announced the farewell tour, they may have picked more of the faster, more of the bangers, but with the kind of the connotations of a farewell tour being, the emotional gravitas of saying goodbye to a band that so many people love, they chose like those softer, slower songs to really kind of feel the moment, maybe?
No, I think we're all just getting old and the mosh pit's going, so they put gaps in between where they can take a breath. I quite laugh sometimes when you see people at mosh pit who are of a certain age like me, nearly 30, our lads. And you can see them tapping out with Ken, slow down. I do love to see, that the older people are still loving it and getting into the mosh pit. But yeah, I do love, because I do listen to a lot of people who do say, couples who come and say that don't get into the mosh pit, but would prefer to see a softer side to Ferocious Dog and the more meaningful, slower songs, which I am glad that we put it out there so everybody gets a choice.
Yeah.
We've only got a mosh pit of, I don't know, 70 or 80 going mad in a mosh pit and the others are innocent bystanders out of 500 people. It's nice to say, well, they prefer different songs. So it was good to do that, and especially as a band, I don't think you'll get many bands that'll do that. They get, especially if you bring in a new album out. Luckily, we've not brought a new album out. It's our final year, so it's nice to flip it back on to the Hellhounds and say, if you come into our shows, what songs would you like us to play this time? Because we could. Now that we're in 2026, it's every day is getting closer to the last show. So yeah, it's going to be. We're looking forward to it, and the rehearsals went brilliant. So.
Oh, amazing! Just I was at a wedding in November, and it was the regular kind of wedding music and stuff. But because we're all metalheads, they put like a segment of 6 songs in the middle of the wedding, and it nearly fucking killed me trying to like keep up. But they put like Blackened by Metallica as the second song. And I was like, who puts a fucking 7-minute song in this medley? It nearly I felt like my thighs were going to explode.
That's somebody with sense of humor. Or the DJ wanted to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Put that filler in.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. I love that. I do love that.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. You shouldn't say, "Oh, no, it's a wedding. We can't possibly play them songs." No, you can. At the end of the day, it's about fulfilling everybody's music tastes, and if you've got something, that's what I used to like about old discos. You'd have your Northern Soul section, and then to move on to middle of the road disco, and then there'd be ska, and then punk, and then heavy rock, and then so all your different factions, you could tell how everybody would dress back in them days. Everybody got up and danced to their own type of music, and I loved this for that. And the trouble is, it don't happen now. It's just middle of the road, and you won't put like oof, 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 music on for a wedding where you've got your grandmas and great granddads and everybody over. I'm leaving. Come on, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good that they can do that and put some metal on, especially Metallica. That's great.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was like Metallica, Lamb of God. So a few people were like, "What the fuck is this?" But for the people who love it and like were there for it, I stayed up the entire time to represent the metal community, and I fucking went straight back to the hotel pretty much the second it was finished.
They'll remember that. They'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can remember when I went to that. That was brilliant. That was genius.
Yeah.
We could really wig out and go mad for a bit." Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love it.
Yeah, because I remember I saw you guys at Bloodstock, and I think it was like 2022. And obviously the metal
Yeah.
community is, such a huge part of what you guys do, but it's not necessarily what you'd assume the metal community would embrace if from like an outside perspective. When you guys first started, when did you really realize metalheads were like showing up for you guys?
Well, it was weird because I'm a naysayer, so I don't do metal. I'm a punk rocker or ska, and Teddy Boy. And, I love all types of music, but I never really got into heavy rock or metal. And then we get Nick and Sam, who were complete metalheads, joined the band. And they love their heavy metal and heavy rock and pirate rock because they're in Red Rum as well. I don't quite get that either, but each to their own. But and we signed to Graphite Records, who were predominantly on the rock scene. So they said the one genre of music that we haven't done. We've done every festival, but we've not been doing any rock festivals. So a few that they sampled, like Wacken, Hellfest, Bloodstock. Just to name drop a few that we're putting you on there, main stage at Hellfest. Wow, it's just unbelievable. And I thought, because I don't get the heavy metal bit, and I'm always like having a good laugh with Sam walking around Bloodstock, for instance. And we're backstage, and we had quite a few interviews as the square peg in the round hole, as you'd say, and a metal festival like for a folk punk band. And after about an hour, I'm still saying to Sam, "Is that the same band still on the main stage singing the same song?" Whoa, and then 3 hours later, I'm saying, "Is that the same band still singing the same song?" You just don't get it, Ken. You're right. You Luddite. So to get to the end of the night and to headline on the Sophie Lancaster stage, which meant so much to me about what Sophie Lancaster stood for and everything, and to finally play that stage for me was an honour. But to headline, I'm like, I don't think we're going to go down very well. And I says to Sam on stage as we were just about to go on, I says, "How long will it take to clear this stage then? Let's have a look." Right. And honestly, it blew me away just to see everybody. And you can always judge it because like when we play Gallows Justice and we get everybody to sit down, and then all jump up in unison. And they did. And I can remember looking at Sam and he goes, "Told you." And they were just there. It's like they're there. When you tell them to do something and they do it. And you think that's when you've got a connection with the crowd. And everything we asked them to do, the crowd, and the circle pits were just immense. They were mad, and it was just great to see. And the same at Hellfest and Wacken, where I really didn't expect to go down, but the circle pit were just, and as soon as we started, they were up for it. I don't know. I think, how does that cross over to the metalheads? Yeah. But they just do. They hear the beat and then they just run. Then we stop. They stop. And then we start, and then they just run and run and run. I'm thinking, this is just so easy. You don't even ask them to it; they just do it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so cool, and it's boss to see. Like I always think, because like I play like a weird version of like country metal and stuff, and the metalheads are always the ones who are ready to embrace that, and like they hear the fiddle and they still get it. And
I think somebody did say that once they've had the exhaustion of all the metal bands, and then they hear something different, a
yeah,
different beat and a different atmosphere, they're craving it for something different after a full day of full on metal. I think, and that some people did say that it was like a breath of fresh air
yeah,
to hear a band like Ferocious Dog, being put on, which we like. Even the people who never heard of Ferocious Dog, and it was just packed solid. I couldn't believe it. We could not get any more people in that venue, the Sophie Lancaster stage, and just to see all the way to the back, thousands of people just going mad for it
yeah,
because and people I would not expect to get, but they did. They just loved it, and we've played biker rallies as well, and I can remember always saying that when we go down there, these Hell's Angels turn up. Oh, absolutely knock it out of water. They love it, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, stand corrected, Ken. Yeah, so I love it.
Yeah. No,
But
that's the cool thing.
they're up for anything. I
Yeah.
think that is it. And you're right that they do seem to embrace anything, no matter what's being played. They're just up for it rather than, no, this is not my type of music. I'm going to other stage. No, they embrace it and they chuck themselves head first into it. It's
Yeah,
good.
I think metalheads can like sense an authenticity or a sincerity quite quick off a band. And as long as you're
Yeah,
bringing a passion and an energy and a love, I think that's like the main thing that, especially as a metalhead myself, it's one of those things where you just want to see the band enjoying themselves. And the second you have that connection, it's, regardless of the genre, as long as it leans to something heavy, because that's the thing I love about like blues and bluegrass and early country music that is like a precursor to all this, is that is like the darkest and heaviest shit you could like find, and it's all kind of the building blocks of what metal is now.
yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, it's like I love like all types of music, like bluegrass and Cajun, and all different types of folk and rock, and I find myself like looking for like but bands that you don't expect to go down, like the Wurzels or
Mm,
something, put on somewhere at a metal fest or download, and you think, wow, well done. That
yeah,
is absolutely amazing. That were brilliant. And people are, I think if it's good music, especially the metalheads, they appreciate that, they're good musicians and they're entertaining.
yeah,
That's a good thing as well. They met that connection. So I think they're more receptive to it. They're open to good styles of music or fun. I think
yeah.
that's another thing. They're up for fun at festivals. That's what I've noticed. They are definitely up for fun.
No, that's so cool. And you have a few festivals this year as well in between the run of
Yeah.
shows you've got. Are there any in particular that, because I know you've been doing a lot of festivals throughout the career, are there any kind of like highlights this year, or are they all just the ones like you chose specifically because you know they are a good time and that you're gonna have that fun?
But for me, I think it's going to be Bearded Theory because Ferocious Dog, it were our first ever festival we ever played back in the day. I've never played a festival. It's when Ferocious Dog had just really started, and we used to set up in an old Victorian pub and play pubs and set his own PAs up and things like that. And we're really just embarking on road to play music. And I don't even know if we'd started even writing his own stuff then back in the early days. And we got a chance to play on an obscure palette stage, an acoustic stage at Bearded Theory, which were the first out. And it was just we got an invite, and it was just a birthday party, Rich Brian's birthday party. And we then got booked to play next year, and the festival got a little bit bigger, and Ferocious Dog got a little bit bigger, and the year after we played for 7 years, back to back,
Mm,
second stages, and then we finally got to a stage where we got bigger and bigger and bigger, and beautiful Bearded Theory got bigger and bigger, and it's always been one of them. Like Ferocious Dog and Bearded Theory have
mm.
always been together.
That's so
And
cool.
obviously, when you get to a certain size, you can't play every year. So we always played every other year, and we've always done that with Bearded Theory. And that's why I think it's fitting that
Mm.
Ferocious Dog sign off playing on that main stage again at Bearded Theory. I can remember the last time at Bearded Theory, I think we had the Wall of Death when I opened it. The Wall of Death. So I'm looking forward to that one. And also a private one where we do the Devil's Arse in Castleton,
Mm.
a massive one. And I'm glad that on our last year, we played it last year. We always sell it out. So, and it's just an amazing place to play.
Mm.
But also, when we're talking about festivals I wanted to play, I always tried to go back to the smaller, because I've never really lost my roots of playing little
Mm.
festivals. I love little obscure festivals rather than the great massive festivals, playing in front of 100,000 people like at Hellfest. But if you're playing like a smaller festival down in North Devon somewhere,
Mm.
perfect for me. I think because that Ferocious Dog not losing the roots of
Yeah.
where we came from and say, oh, they've moved on now, they don't play it. And obviously, it's whether they can afford Ferocious Dog because that's out of our hands. That's why we have management teams and things like that working in the background. But if they can afford and these smaller festivals, to me, that's like going back to where it
Yeah.
first started in the energy. I just love playing the small festivals. And
Mm.
people would say, "Oh, what? Rather than playing in front of thousands of people?" I say, "Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think there's something unique about these smaller festivals that it takes me back to that excitement when you first started, when you were lucky to get booked onto a festival and
Yeah.
you loved it because you could come all weekend, watch all these bands for free, and you played on a little stage somewhere, and you're like, wow, we're actually
Yeah.
going to play this festival. To me that's brilliant. And then obviously you get bigger and bigger, but don't ever lose that excitement of playing that small festival, which where we first started off.
Mm.
And I love going back to small festivals up and down the
Yeah.
country.
No, that's so cool. And I think that's what I really respected about when you guys said about calling it a day. And I think there was like a YouTube interview where you said, you could have done like 8 kind of bigger O2 shows, but you split it into kind of 2 halves and you're doing this more like you're playing the Tivoli in Buckley, the Holy Diver in
Yeah,
Stockport in September and stuff. And you're playing the smaller venues, which not only lets you reach a wider range of people, but the state of how music venues are in the country at the moment, this is just like a shot in the arm for these type of venues, which is a massive, massive thing to not like credit where credit's due.
but people don't seem to realize that it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, we could have gone out on big shows and sold them out and pat each other on the back of what a way to finish your career of Ferocious Dog. Them who, when we first started, when we didn't sell them out, these smaller venues, they're the ones who need the money,
Mm.
and that is keeping that legacy of that smaller venue going, like the Crescent at York. These smaller ones for them, it's just amazing that they get a sold out night.
Yeah.
It's like thank you, Ferocious Dog. And every time we play these smaller venues, say, well, will you come back next year? And I'll say, yeah, I'd love to. Will you come back to the TIFF, which like Rocky, good friends
Mm.
who you make up and down the year. But it's hard when the band get to a bigger stage and you can't go back to these smaller ones. But yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can. Let's like I said, let's take Ferocious Dog all around the UK. Rather than just a few who will make money out of it and cash in.
Mm.
But yeah, keep these smaller venues up and coming for the next bands who are coming along.
Yeah.
Where they've got somewhere to start, like we did.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
No, it isn't. It's such a hard thing because it does feel like every other day there's a venue closing down and there's a band calling it quits. And it does seem like a dire state for music. But I also know in my heart that if every music venue closed down, some kid is going to get a PA system and set up in a church hall or a garage or do something to keep that music alive. But it shouldn't have to get to that point at this stage in this day and age.
it's where young bands learn the craft. It's more even like supporting somebody like Ferocious Dog, and they like, oh my God, can you imagine if we got like our own show and we were playing, we redlining uh, a smaller venue. That's what you keeps you going. You want to
Yeah.
then go to a band where you're selling tickets and people buying tickets rather than just set it up in your local pub or art centre or something, or you know, just hoping that somebody comes and family and friends come. We did all that years ago. We've been going for 33 years. We've done the hard work, and I've seen so many amazing smaller music venues go after, over the years, and it just breaks your heart
Yeah.
because it's not for us. We're moving up to bigger stuff, but it's the friends you've made and these people working so hard to keep grassroots music, and it's where these bands will come along to follow Ferocious Dog where they'll start, and they'll cut their teeth at playing, and you have to learn even your stagecraft
Yeah.
rather than setting up on carpet in front of people like we used to back in Warsaw back in day when we first started playing local pubs around our village. Where you had to put bar stools in front to stop the crowd. They were just there and banging my microphone into my teeth, and then you're playing on bigger stages. But I never forget them pubs that they were payday for them to keep
Yeah.
these music venues open when they play live music, and then the bands that come through next. If they're not there, we'll lose a great heritage of live music.
Yeah. No, really, and like it's one of those hard things. I don't know what the answer is because I know people are being like, well, Ed Sheeran should just do, a little tour of these things. And it's like, but that's, it would be nice and it would probably help in the short term, but that's not really going to help in the long term. And I don't think the trickle down effect works currently for music venues because, like, I know the Foo Fighters just played the O2 Ritz in Manchester. They did another small show, but, I don't think that's a long term plan to have smaller, like bigger artists drop into smaller venues every now and then. It needs. I don't know what the answer is to live music in the UK currently, but these venues do need to stay open, and these young bands do need something to kind of come through and have kind of an aspirational goal of somewhere to play.
I think because it's something we take for granted that like we'll go over to the continent and they'll go, "Oh my God, Ken's in a band." See, yeah, in England, everybody's in a band.
Yeah.
It's what we do. Everybody, or even in some part of the life, most people join a band or start learning to play guitar. It's the what British do. We're
Yeah.
very good at it, and you can say like the par with the language of American and British singing songs and writing the best in the world.
Yeah.
Always happening, and that's where you look for people from Europe or around the world. They even sing in English to crack,
Yeah.
the music industry. And I think like when we go to Germany or Holland, and they have more money from the government
Yeah.
put in the arts than we do. It's just something that the government takes for granted. But it's not, it's the hard work of working class people,
Yeah.
really, that get bands up and coming and start to play and learn a trade in the music industry and hopefully sign up to somebody and, release their own music and then learn that way. But it comes down from just lads in garages or college or things like
Yeah.
that, or in bands, just wanting to express themselves. So yeah, it's something I think that could be funded more, through the arts.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it's a hard thing because, obviously with your music and kleptocracy and beyond, like there's always been a critique of the government and a critique of the society and standards. But what I enjoy about your work is it's a critique, but it's an open answered question to lead to a conversation. It's one of those things where, no one has the right answer, but there needs to be a change. There needs to be a level of empathy and, you know, support in all these kind of questions. And it's, asking the right questions and hoping that someone has enough of an answer to move you forward.
Yeah, I think somewhere funding or a better understanding of the music industry one of the leaders of the world of music, it's massively underappreciated where they do leave it to the hard work of individuals making bands and then hoping that people keep music venues open, private music venues, rather than your O2s and your bigger ones. So I think it's definitely something that needs looking at where it, like say, the government just take these for granted that, well, we want leaders in music. But I think the gulf is getting, like, how many of your big bands are mainstream now, play with a drummer and a bassist?
Yeah.
They're not, because it's easier and uh, more money in the top end than just DJing and a manufactured kind of music. It's just easier. And I think the music after the 90s, when you saw a massive explosion of bands in the 90s, they're not there now.
No.
And I think that's the knock-on effect of music venues. The bands would play have all gone. So you can see now that them bands aren't there anymore. And I mean, bands, and the one thing what people don't understand is when you're in a band and everybody's playing tight together, it's an animal that don't just, yeah, sometimes you're very lucky for it to have, the right, components in a band that is unique to make that band unique. But they have to learn it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And they've probably been in, 10 bands before they got to that, and then made that band that clicked, with the singer, with the bassist, and usually the bassist and drummer being solid together, and then the things that are laid on, and you're learning your trade. But if they're not doing it from when the kids, at school and learning bands and them getting auditoriums to play, and I think that's why the bands aren't there anymore like they were in the 90s. That's the knock-on effect of not having that. So it's even changed the music that we listen to today. The bands are very few and far between. So it's harder for them.
No,
It's a
totally.
shame.
In obviously like your career, you've been, in thousands of venues. Is there any that particularly stick in your mind as like favorites and favorites that don't exist anymore? Because even, I've been playing music for 10 years this year, and there's venues that I've played that don't exist anymore, and it seems like sometimes it just happens overnight.
I think I'll never forget the Owl Sanctuary, a tiny little place in Norwich. It's gone now, and they tried to keep it open, but it was down a little alley, and it was as old as, honestly, it must have gone back to two of the times this building, but it was a tiny little thing. It was red hot in there, packed solid with Hellhounds going mad, and there's condensation all dripping off you, and the crowd's right there in front of you. But yeah, the Owl Sanctuary in Norwich, that one, I'll always remember that one. But that's there's been that many over the years that have gone, and you see it, you keep looking on social media and another one's gone, and you think, oh, great shot. I had great memories of playing in there, but Owl Sanctuary always sticks in mind, and it broke my heart when that one closed. We tried our best to keep it open, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's such a tough one because I love the Blue Lamp up in Aberdeen, and that recently closed, and it's like, well, what the fuck else is there up in Aberdeen now? And it's like, sometimes there is just that one venue there, and it's like, if that goes, what do those people around that area have?
Yeah, I think we played years ago the Krakatoa, and I don't know what it's called now. If that one's still open, it's right on the docks on the front, and you're traveling what feels like 3 days to get to Aberdeen. I think our agent says we're playing in Galloway, Dumfries and Galloway, a festival, and they said, well, while you're up in Scotland, we've got you another show, so you'll play the festival. You go to the festival, you can drive on up to Aberdeen and then come back down to headline the festival the next day. We didn't realise that Dumfries and Galloway is just over the border, and then I was still closer to home in the Midlands than I were to Aberdeen.
Yeah.
They don't call it a big country for nothing.
No.
I thought, I can see our agent saying, well, they're in Scotland, so I've got another one.
Yeah.
But great memories. That's the thing about it. Great memories.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but that's
having bad.
another thing I kind of you'll assume you'll miss as part of this is not just the shows themselves, but the travel with you guys as well, because it's a rare and beautiful thing to kind of be locked in a car with someone for that long, and like the conversations and like the thoughts and the stuff you'll have outside of the gigs is going to be another thing that you'll miss.
You know, and I love it that, I mean, we did have a part where we had our own tour bus that we made ourselves with beds on and things like that, so it made it a bit more comfortable. It was still only an old bus, single decker bus kind of thing, but it was our bus, and it was nice to go on road, and it was perfect for us. And now we hire a splitter, so it's like it's nice, and everybody's sat on this splitter for hours and hours and hours. But that's what I like. It's like it's gone back to that's how touring should be. And I say, would you like to have, like we did the Hope tour on the big tour bus, which we hired for the old tour. They were great. Don't get me wrong. Really an amazing sleeper tour bus that we hired. But I prefer and must be proper old school. No, let's rough it. Like the times when you had a transit van
Mm.
and everybody piled into the back and you slept in there on top of your kit and everything. You didn't have, and I don't know. Them days, I think they're magical, and I think
Mm.
Ferocious Dog is still like that. Like going back down to a splitter, and we're all sat together, and that's where you need good band members, where everybody gets on. When people get tired and everybody's on top of each other and more tired and then more tired and exhausted, that really tests you as a band. And I must say that with Ferocious Dog, we're lucky that way that everybody gets on so well. It really is. You do need that
Mm.
because that's where you see bands and fractions and things
Yeah.
like that. Bands where people get tired and annoyed. It's great though. Being on road, it really tests you.
Yeah.
That's where it tests you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. But it's all good stuff. It's all part of it, not just the shows.
Yeah.
It's the getting there and the getting home and early hours, no sleep. People don't see that.
No.
That's part.
Yeah. Well,
They just see an off show.
yeah. It's like that meme where it's like, oh, you've been on tour, you must have seen lots of different places, and then it's just four different pictures of bathrooms.
I tell you what, people say we played. I think we on the Flogging Molly tour when we supported them in Europe, and we played in Zurich. I said, "Oh, Zurich, beautiful city." So, what did you think of Zurich? I said, "Well, that bar across road from how beautiful. It was a beautiful sunny day, and it went too. So we were lucky to get a beautiful sunny day there in Zurich, and all we did is crossed over the road, had a beer in a bar straight across the road, then walked back for Soundtech, and then stayed there and played the show and drove to another country the next day through the night. You think, oh, you could make it up. People think that you get a chance to go out and see the city.
No.
Nope. No, it's brilliant though. It is.
Yeah. No, that's so cool, man. I don't want to keep you too long, so we'll start wrapping up and stuff. But with kind of this farewell tour on the horizon, is there anything you're looking forward to after Ferocious Dog? Is it kind of, look back at an amazing career and take a break, or will you be looking at writing other songs or looking at moving into another medium?
We'll have to, yeah, I don't know. I've retired, so I've just moved to countryside. So it's been part of a 7-year plan for me. And my wife said I'd never do it. She said, "You'll never give up on Ferocious Dog." For 33 years, it's been my life.
Mm.
And, I did promise her 7 years ago that I would do it in 7 years. And I says, I don't want to still be jumping around and going on tours when I'm 60-year-old and I'm 58 now. So by the time we finish, I'll be 59 or nearly 59. So I think that's the time to then spend time with my wife, who's stuck by me through thick and thin of 32 years of playing in a band, which takes me out of tour.
Yeah.
So you do need that person behind you. So I think for my retirement, this is a big part of it. That I'll still. I mean, I'm a musician, so I'll never say never. But I'm not looking at recording, or I'm just looking forward to like getting with friends and go camping like we used to back in the early days, and just get a guitar out, sit around a campfire, and just go and relax. Because being in Ferocious Dog is just full on. Because we've always been touring, we've always been doing festivals, we've always been recording, for as long as I can remember. So it'll be nice to, I don't know, take a year out and see what happens, and never say never that.
Yeah.
I might do a few solo shows here and there, but that'll be up to me and see how I feel, and up to the wife if she lets me.
No, that's so cool, and I think it is understated how important a supportive partner is in all this. Like, I always love hearing about those people, because without them kind of holding down the fort, none of this would be possible. Like, I'm really lucky I have a wife who's been absolutely incredible. We have a little 2-year-old now, and I took like a year off when he was born because, we needed that time to be there for him. And any gig I do now is 100% not because of a booking, not because of a venue, not because of me. It's because she has everything handled in the house. Let me go play fucking silly buggers at a venue.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, like what I'll see more of the band all this month than I will my wife.
Mm.
I'll come back for 2 days and I'll be absolutely knackered because I'm not getting no younger, and I could just stand on stage and just sing the songs and not jump about and not get absolutely wet through. But that's not Ferocious Dog. You're shortchanging people. And I can't do it when I go on stage. I perform. That's been my job. I'm a performer. I jump about. I get the adrenaline, and I get into it. I can't just stand there and just sing the songs for people and just go through the motions. If you bought a ticket to watch Ferocious Dog, you get what Ferocious Dog's about, and that's it. So, for my wife, and she's not going to see me for a full month, so it's going to be challenging. But the respect for my wife, who understands it, she prefers it if I never come home, because if I come home like for one day, we've got one day off, so I'll come home. I'm not getting home while 4 o'clock in the morning, then waking her up.
Yeah.
I'm shattered for one day, and then I go again, for 5 days, and she don't see me again. So she'll say, "Look, if you're on tour, just stay on tour. Don't bother coming. It's easier, and you're not waking me up in early hours." Which things like that, you think, well, fair play. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do need that solid person behind you, especially in a band that's going to work like that. They have to understand that that's what you do. When you're on tour, you're not going to be there. So, yeah, take me up to it.
Yeah. No, amazing. And just kind of wrap it up. Obviously, it's like a 33-year career. Is there one kind of song or moment that you really kind of hold on to as, this has made it able for me to kind of let go and like enjoy the retirement and stuff, like you've achieved and accomplished like this beautiful moment that you guys have created over these 33 years?
I don't know. I think over the years, it's something unique with Ferocious Dog. It's not just one song or one show or one venue or one gig that we've played. I think it's cumulative of what Ferocious Dog brought to the table for a lot of people, like meeting new friends. It's not about coming to watch Ferocious Dog. It's about the people who meet up, friends meet up, look out for each other, camp with each other, make sure that they get home. It's an ethos about being a hellhound that, and yeah, it's been said. I didn't, to start with, I didn't know where it came from, but there's got to be a catalyst, and usually like me making sure and being open on social media and wanting to talk to people, and if somebody says, "Oh, I'm a woman on my own, and I want to come to the show, but I ain't got nobody to come with," I don't have to say it, but there'll be loads of people who jump on and say, "But you can come with us. You're never alone at Ferocious Dog." Now that means a lot to me. It's what the Hellhounds, the thing that we've created, and not from the start. There's a lot of Hellhounds who have gone on to different things and watch other bands and stuff like that, who I still call friends and love them. But they've found that we've brought people together, and they've found friends who they would never have found if they wouldn't have got into a band called Ferocious Dog. Now, that to me, I think that will be probably our legacy. You know,
That's absolutely incredible, and I'll leave it there. I think that's a good note to end on, Ken.
yeah. Right, but yeah, thanks for that, pal.
And that was episode 79 of the Rogue Country podcast in the bag. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Go catch Ferocious Dog on their farewell tour. You do not want to miss this, guys. I guarantee you that. Make sure you come see Axe Connolly on the 18th of March with Susanna Clegg and Birkenhead at the Swinging Arm. Make sure you pick up a copy of Breaking Strings live from Preston by Mike West and the Missing Links. And keep supporting live music. And as always, keep it rogue. Peace.